In a world recovering from war, former soldier Violet Evergarden, once used as a living weapon, struggles to understand human emotions. Now working as an auto-memory doll, she helps others express their deepest feelings through letters. But when she receives a mysterious letter hinting at the fate of Major Gilbert, her beloved commander thought to be dead, her journey takes an unexpected turn. As she chases the truth, will Violet finally find closure, or is the past too painful to face? The answer lies in a heart-wrenching revelation that changes everything. The movie begins. After enduring the Great War, Violet awakens in the Army's hospital, where the arms she lost have been replaced with silver prosthetics. Eager to return to work as quickly as possible, she tries to write a report for her superior officer, Gilbert, but can't even grip a pen with her new limbs. A former lieutenant colonel of the Army, Hodgins, visits her, stating he has come to collect her on Gilbert's instructions. Violet is escorted by him to the capital city, Leiden, and while observing the city, which still bears scars from the war, Violet recalls certain words that Gilbert had spoken to her on the battlefield. To uncover the meaning of the words Gilbert shared, Violet volunteered to train as an Autumn Memories doll apprentice. However, since her past days consisted solely of combat as a military tool, she struggles to understand people's emotions and articulate them into words. Violet tends to speak candidly without filter about clients, raising skepticism from her colleagues Erica and Iris, and astonishment from their senior, Katlia. A female customer arrives at the CH Postal Company, and by default, Violet finds herself writing a letter for someone for the first time. Still unable to grasp emotions, the letter inadvertently angers both the recipient and the client. Erica then questions Violet's motivations for wanting to become a doll, but she softens when Violet reveals her yearning to understand the meaning of the words, "I love you." Iris suggests that Hodgins should fire Violet, but Erica defends her, partly due to her own insecurities about being a proper doll. Hodgins ultimately chooses not to fire Violet, presents her with a new uniform, and returns the brooch that Gilbert originally gave to her, which Hodgins had managed to retrieve. Violet feels overjoyed to have the brooch back and agrees to attend a doll training course that evening. Hodgins confides in Katlia about his past friendship with Gilbert, expressing that Gilbert will never return. Violet attends the Auto Memories doll training school to become a genuine doll, where she meets and befriends a girl named Lakelia Marlborough. The following day, Violet and Lakelia are assigned to practice their actual ghostwriting skills on each other. However, Instructor Rodand is not impressed with the letter Violet ghostwrote for Lakelia, emphasizing that letters should convey a person's feelings, and finds Violet's effort unacceptable. Lakelia invites Violet to her favorite spot at the top of a bell tower to admire the view, revealing that her brother is a war-crippled turned drunkard. Despite this, Violet does not pass the class while Lakelia graduates with flying colors. Lakelia later reconnects with Violet and offers to ghostwrite a letter to Gilbert, but Violet struggles to find the right words to express herself. Lakelia then shares with Violet how her parents lost their lives in the war and how her brother carries guilt for not being able to protect them. She wants to communicate to her brother that she is simply grateful he is alive and back home, yet also cannot find the right words to articulate this. Moved by Lakelia's sentiments, Violet successfully composes a brief and clear letter that captures Lucilia's feelings towards her brother. After reviewing the letter, Instructor Roden permits Violet to graduate, and Lakelia assists her brother in climbing to the top of the bell tower to enjoy the view, as they once did in their childhood. And Violet goes on to help a well-known writer, Oscar Webster, in crafting his next play. However, she finds him to be a drunken recluse upon her arrival. Violet persuades Oscar to set aside his drinking while they work, and together they begin writing the play. The narrative revolves around a girl named Olive who utilizes her power to summon magical sprites to conquer a beast, but in doing so, she sacrifices her abilities and becomes estranged from her home and father. Violet grows curious about the ending of the story, which Oscar has yet to determine. Violet then discovers a parasol, triggering an angry outburst from Oscar, who subsequently confesses to Violet that he modeled Olive after his daughter Olivia, who passed away from illness, and he is attempting to write the play as a means of coping with his grief. Violet then inspires Oscar with the notion of Olive employing her magical parasol to return home. Oscar comes to terms with his daughter's death and expresses his gratitude to Violet. On her journey home, Violet starts to feel remorse for the people she killed during the war, pondering how many happy endings she may have thwarted. Violet learns from Mrs. Evergarden that Gilbert has died and confronts Hodgins, who admits that after their last mission, neither Gilbert nor his body was found, but his dog tags were recovered, leading the army to declare him dead. Violet continues to deny that Gilbert is dead and escapes the post office in distress. Violet then proceeds to the military headquarters to confront Dietfried regarding the truth of Gilbert's fate, and he confirms that he is deceased. Denial. Violet journeys to Gilbert's mansion where she discovers his grave back at the post office. Hodgins departs to search for Violet, then starts to remember her history with Gilbert, which began when Dietfried assigned her to his command as a child soldier. Despite his intention to nurture Violet as a typical girl, Gilbert is compelled by his superiors to deploy her on the front lines because of her combat skills. Violet demonstrates to be crucial in securing numerous significant victories. During this period, Gilbert bestowed Violet her name and educated her on how to read and write, and he ultimately purchases her a brooch as a present. Sometime later, Gilbert's unit is tasked with launching an attack on the enemy's headquarters, whose success could signal the war's conclusion. Gilbert's unit endures significant losses during the assault, but they manage to capture the headquarters and signal the main force to initiate their attack. Violet tries to drag the injured Gilbert to safety. Gilbert urges Violet to leave without him and ultimately confesses his love for her, but she fails to comprehend his words. Violet returns to the post office with Hodgins, but she declines to do any further ghostwriting work, causing concern among her co-workers. In her sorrow, Violet tries to take her own life, but cannot follow through with it. After assisting Benedict with delivering letters and reading a message sent to her by Erica and Iris, Violet realizes that receiving a letter can bring joy to someone. She resumes work, beginning with ghostwriting a letter for Spencer, Lakilli's brother. Violet goes back to the post office and inquires with Hodgins if it's truly acceptable for a person like her to continue living. Hodgins replies that what she did during the war cannot be undone, but the same applies to all the good deeds she has accomplished as an auto memories doll. Violet arrives at a mansion where a young girl named Anne lives with her wealthy but ill mother. Anne's mother has hired Violet for 7 days to compose letters, but Anne is not informed about the letters' content or their intended recipients. Additionally, Anne is both suspicious and intrigued by Violet, as she mistakenly believes her to be an actual living doll due to her prosthetic arms. Over the course of the week, Anne begins to accept Violet, yet she struggles with the thought of being apart from her mother as the letters are written. Days turned into weeks, as young Anne remained unaware of a heartbreaking truth. Her mother, in secrecy, was writing letters for her with Violet's help. Though frail, she hid her pain behind warm smiles, but as time passed, Anne could no longer ignore the truth. Her mother's health was fading. Then, the inevitable happened. Anne's mother passed away, leaving behind an emptiness that nothing could fill. One day, while playing with the beautiful parasol Violet had gifted her, Anne received a letter. Curiously, she opened it, and what she saw left her frozen in place. It was from her mother. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized these were the very letters her mother had written, preserved by Violet's hands. And from that moment on, every year on her birthday, a new letter arrived. Years passed. With each letter, Anne's mother had foreseen the milestones of her life, her struggles, her joys, even the moment she would fall in love. Now grown, Anne was married with a child of her own. As she gently cradled her crying baby, she understood the depth of her mother's love more than ever. And with that, the movie comes to a heartfelt close. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.